We got Sam Spiegelman here. We're going to talk about which out-of-state programs are recruiting the state of Texas the best. But we got to start with the Texas Longhorns because they are on an absolute heater. You're in the state of Texas. I wanted to get your opinion on what Steve Sarkisian and the Horns are doing right now.
Yeah, this should come as no surprise. Since Steve Sarkisian arrived in Austin, Texas has been either signed or been in contention for the number one recruiting class each year. That theme only furthered this particular cycle. Obviously, they have some incredible in-state talent already on board in this class, guys like John Turntine and Jermaine Bishop, two of the best in the state. But what we're seeing is they're in year two in the SEC, and they're hitting SEC territories for blue chippers.
Yeah.
Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, you name it. Steve Sarkisian and that staff are going and getting it. That includes the number one linebacker in the country, Tyler Atkinson, who has been a priority target since the beginning of this cycle, flipping James Johnson away from the Dogs. These are no easy tasks, and they're not done at this point. They're continuing to hit these SEC territories. They're continuing to recruit that very talent-laden state of Texas. And Steve Sarkisian and this Texas staff are making a habit out of bringing the best in the country to Austin.
Yeah. I mean, in Texas landed only one player from the state of Texas in the top 5 last cycle. But I guess that doesn't matter when you're recruiting so well nationally. I mean, Texas had the number one class in America. Meanwhile, the Georgia Bulldogs, they signed all 5 players in the state, the top 5, except for one, Justice Terry. He went to Texas, yet all we talk about is why can't Georgia recruit their home state? But I guess there's just levels to this. Do you think that do you think that Texas needs to focus more in state, or what they're doing is just fine?
Who am I to argue that Tyler Atkinson, the number one linebacker in the country, won't be the most perfect successor to Anthony Hill, who is likely going to be the first linebacker off the board in April or May when the NFL draft rolls around? This Texas staff, the front office rather, they know what they're doing. They know it is in their state, and they have an excellent staff of recruiting personnel, coaches, and coordinators designed to keep the best players in Texas that they view as a fit for the Longhorns in the state. But they have no reserves about going into Florida for James Johnson or going into Georgia to get Tyler Atkinson, or like last year, getting Justice Terry, who they felt was the final piece to their 2025 class that put him over the top. And he already is making big waves in Austin. So clearly their scouting, their evaluation, and their NIL resources are being directed into the right place. If you're a Texas Longhorns fan, I don't think that you're complaining that you missed on a linebacker in Houston, because when you got a 5-star like Tyler Atkinson on board, there's not really too much to complain about, especially when you're competing for SEC and playoff spots.
Yeah, I mean, they're going into Florida to grab the number one quarterback in America. They're going out to California to land Richard Wesley, the number 3 ranked edge. I mean, they are all over the place. Now, let's turn our attention to the state of Texas. So, what out-of-state programs, while the Horns are going into every other state and taking number one players out of those states, who's coming into the state of Texas and capitalizing?
Yeah, you can look at this from a lot of different perspectives. In terms of quantity, no one is recruiting the state of Texas harder right now than Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils. They have 8 verbal commitments out of the state of Texas. They're hitting DFW, they're hitting Austin, they're hitting Houston. They got their quarterback out of West Texas and El Paso. Jake Feta, kind of the headliner of this group, also includes a 4-star edge, Julian Hugo. But what Arizona State has made a habit out of going into the Lone Star State. There's only so many recruits that Texas and A&M and SMU and TCU can battle for, and Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham has recruited this state for a decade plus, and he's got assistant coaches on the staff that have strong ties to the area, and they're giving a major out-of-state option to some of these kids that are considering their in-state options, like Houston and Texas and TCU. But ASU almost beat Texas in the college football playoff, and we've heard that time and time again from different recruits who are considering the Sun Devils.
Now, another program that we talk a lot about on this channel, we love their class right now, is Notre Dame. How's Notre Dame? Well, I know how Notre Dame's done it. They had a great season last year, but Notre Dame has really come into the state of Texas and capitalized.
Yeah, we talked about ASU and the quantity of Texans on their commitment list. Then we shift over to the Irish, and we have to talk about the quality of players that are en route to South Bend. Caden Finley is a massive recruiting win for Marcus Freeman and this staff. He's obviously a Texas legacy. Everyone knows that Jermaine Finley, his father, played tight end with Vince Young and won a natty in Austin. But Caden Finley, like Braden Robinson or Tiki Ola or Javian Osborne, they're taking their own paths. They're trying to do it differently and go to Notre Dame, where Marcus Freeman is the ultimate players coach, and I think that resonates with a lot of kids. They're going into Texas, and they're figuring out the right fits. I mean, they've been in very tough recruiting battles for each one of their 4 commitments. None of those were obvious Notre Dame leans at any point in their recruitments. They beat Texas out for Caden Finley. They beat Michigan for Javian Osborne. They had to go toe-to-toe with Miami for Braden Robinson, and they had to beat out SMU, where Tiki Ola has family ties to that SMU coaching staff. These are hard-earned victories on the recruiting trail, but they're blue chippers that I think that they're going to be making a difference on South Bend sooner rather than later.
So moving forward, do you think that these trends continue? I mean, what do you make of the landscape of Texas recruiting?
From speaking to different sources, whether they're in Austin, whether they're in College Station, they're not only, benchmark programs within the state of Texas, and they want to keep Texas talent close to home, but they're competing for national championships, and they're okay going into different parts of the country to get that. Like Texas, A&M's recruiting class has a lot of Georgia blueprint in it. They're okay leaving the state, where you see a program like Houston and SMU or even TCU, which has 100% of in-state commitments. SMU is trying to go local first, keep the best in Dallas close to home. Same with Willie Fritz and the Houston Cougars. They have Keyshawn Henderson, a 5-star quarterback committed from Houston. Yeah. They just landed Paris Melvin, Jaden Warren, local blue chippers, but that does open the door for programs like Michigan, like Oklahoma, like Notre Dame, like Arizona State, contenders to dip into the state and catch some eyes, which all of these programs are doing at a high level. The beauty is Texas is so loaded with talented recruits from tiers 1 through 5 or 6 that there's plenty to go around for these different programs.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. Good thing Texas is loaded, because there's plenty to go around. I mean, even if Texas made a whole class up of only prospects from Texas, it wouldn't even scratch the surface in terms of D1 players that come out of that state. So pretty unbelievable the amount of talent that is in the Longhorn State. Stan Spiegelman, thanks for keeping up with this regional theme we got going on today.
Thanks for having me, Josh.